Have you ever wondered what kind of people you shouldn't have in your life as you grow older? Maybe it's the ones who constantly complain, manipulate your emotions, or make you feel small every chance they get. At first, you might try to brush it off, telling yourself it's just how they are. But as time goes on, you realize these people are doing more harm than good, quietly stealing your energy, your peace, and even your happiness. How do you protect yourself from them? Imagine trying to swim with a heavy chain wrapped around your ankle. At first you think you can manage, but as the current gets stronger, you realize you're sinking. That chain represents toxic people in your life. No matter how strong you are, they'll keep pulling you under unless you decide to let them go. Protecting your peace isn't just a choice, it's a necessity. If this sounds familiar, this video is for you. Today, we'll uncover 6 types of people you should never live with as you grow older. These are the ones who drain your energy, disrupt your peace, and make life harder than it needs to be. Stick with me until the end, because the second last type might be the one holding you back the most. It's time to reclaim your energy, your happiness, and your life. Let's dive in. Number 1, the constant complainers. Let's talk about a group of people who quietly but effectively drain the life out of you. The constant complainers. You know the type. Always focusing on what's wrong, what's unfair, or what didn't go their way. At first, you might feel sympathy for them. You listen, you try to help, and maybe you even think they just need someone to talk to. But over time, it starts to feel like a one-way street. No matter how much you listen, no matter how many solutions you offer, their problems never seem to end. And here's the worst part. Their negativity doesn't just stay with them, it spreads to you. Here's the truth. Constant complainers aren't looking for solutions. They're looking for an audience. They thrive on focusing on the problems, the injustices, and the things they can't control. And while you might think you're helping by giving them your time and energy, all you're really doing is letting them drag you into their endless cycle of negativity. It's like being stuck in quicksand. The more you engage, the deeper you sink. Let me share a story about a friend of mine. Let's call her Clara. Clara had a colleague who was a classic complainer. Every day this person would show up with a new grievance, workload, weather, relationships, you name it. Clara, being the kind and patient person she is, would listen. She'd offer advice, try to empathize, and do everything she could to be supportive. But no matter what she said or did, nothing changed. The complaints just kept coming. After a while, Clara noticed something. She was starting to feel drained. Her own mood was affected, and she found herself dreading those interactions. That's when it hit her. She wasn't helping this person. She was letting them steal her energy. So Clara made a choice. She decided to set boundaries. The next time her colleague started complaining, Clara listened briefly, but instead of getting sucked into the negativity, she gently redirected the conversation. She'd say things like, "That sounds tough. What do you think you can do to change it?" Or, "Have you tried looking at it this way?" If the person kept complaining without being open to solutions, Clara would excuse herself and step away. It wasn't easy at first, but over time, it made a huge difference. Clara felt lighter, more focused, and more at peace. Here's the insight. The company you keep has a direct impact on your energy and mental peace. Constant complainers don't just drain your time, they drain your spirit. The more you engage with their negativity, the harder it becomes to protect your own mindset. But when you set boundaries and refuse to be pulled into their cycle, you reclaim your power. You're not being unkind by stepping back. You're choosing to prioritize your well-being. If you're dealing with someone like this, here's what you can do. First, recognize that you're not responsible for fixing their problems. Listen briefly if you must, but don't let the conversation spiral. Second, redirect the focus towards solutions. If they're unwilling to shift their perspective, don't waste your energy trying to force it. Lastly, give yourself permission to walk away. Protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. Life is too short to spend it surrounded by negativity. You deserve relationships that uplift you, energize you, and bring out the best in you. So if you find yourself constantly drained by complainers, remember, it's okay to step back. It's okay to choose your peace over their problems. Because at the end of the day, this is your time, and it's too precious to waste on anything or anyone that doesn't add value to your life. Number 2, emotionally manipulative. Let's talk about one of the most draining and toxic types of people you can encounter, the emotionally manipulative. These are the ones who use guilt, fear, or subtle emotional tricks to control your actions, not for your benefit, but for theirs. At first, their behavior might seem harmless. They might say things like, "I thought you cared about me," or "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me." And because you're a kind, empathetic person, you might feel obligated to give in. But over time, you realize there's a pattern. Their words aren't about connection, they're about control. Here's the harsh truth. Emotionally manipulative people thrive on your kindness, your empathy, and your desire to avoid conflict. They know exactly which buttons to push to get what they want, whether it's making you feel guilty for saying no or planting fear about the consequences of standing up for yourself. And the longer you let it slide, the more they tighten their grip, leaving you feeling trapped, confused, and emotionally drained. Let me share a story about a friend of mine. Let's call her Priya. Priya had a colleague who was incredibly charming but also manipulative. Whenever Priya tried to set boundaries, this colleague would twist the situation, making her feel guilty. "You're the only one I can count on," they'd say, or "I thought we were friends, but I guess I was wrong." Wanting to avoid conflict and not seem selfish, Priya kept giving in, taking on extra work, covering for mistakes, and sacrificing her own time and energy. At first, she convinced herself it was no big deal, but over time, the emotional weight became unbearable. She started dreading every interaction, feeling like no matter what she did, it was never enough. One day, Priya had a wake-up call. She realized that her colleague's behavior wasn't about needing help, it was about control. She decided to stop engaging with their manipulation. When they tried to guilt her, Priya calmly but firmly said, "I'm sorry, but I can't help with this right now." And when they tried to stir up drama, she refused to engage, keeping her focus on her own responsibilities. It wasn't easy. Manipulative people often escalate their behavior when they feel their control slipping. But Priya stood her ground. And over time, she noticed a change. Not only did her colleagues start backing off, but Priya felt lighter, freer, and more in control of her own life. Here's the Stoic insight. A manipulative companion is an enemy of your inner peace. Emotional manipulation is a form of control, and the cost is your mental and emotional well-being. If you let it continue, it eats away at your confidence, your boundaries, and your ability to trust yourself. But the moment you recognize manipulation for what it is and choose to protect your peace, you take back your power. So, how do you deal with someone emotionally manipulative? First, recognize the tactics. Whether it's guilt-tripping, fear-mongering, or playing the victim, manipulation thrives on emotional responses. Second, stay calm and firm. Refuse to let their tactics sway you. You don't owe them endless explanations. Just a simple, "This doesn't work for me," is enough. And finally, prioritize your peace. Limit your interactions with them. Set clear boundaries, and don't feel guilty for protecting your well-being. Life is too short to spend it tangled in someone else's web of control. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect, not manipulation. So if someone is using guilt or fear to control your actions, remember this. Their power only exists if you allow it. Choose to protect your peace. Stand firm in your boundaries and don't let anyone rob you of your inner calm. Because your peace is your power and it's worth everything. If you found this video helpful, like it, subscribe for more timeless wisdom, and let's connect in the comments. What's one lesson or sign that stood out to you? I'll personally reply to your comments, so let's talk. Number 3, controlling personalities. Let's talk about a type of person who can quietly take over your life without you even realizing it. The controlling personalities. These are the people who always have to have things their way. They dominate decisions, make you feel like your preferences don't matter, and somehow manage to leave you feeling small and powerless. At first, it might not seem like a big deal. You might brush it off, thinking it's just their personality, or they probably mean well. But over time, their need to control everything starts to chip away at your autonomy, and with it, your peace of mind. Here's the truth. Controlling personalities don't always look like the stereotypical bossy person. Sometimes it's subtle. It might be a friend who always insists on choosing where to eat, even if you'd prefer something else. Or a family member who constantly advises you on how to live your life. But it doesn't really feel like advice. It feels like pressure. They may frame it as helping, but the reality is they're ignoring your voice, your preferences, and your boundaries. And the longer you let it slide, the more you lose your sense of self. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, let's call her Emma, was in a long-term relationship with someone who had a controlling streak. At first, she didn't even notice it. He'd make decisions for both of them, saying things like, "I know what's best," or "You'll thank me later." Emma, being easygoing, went along with it. But over time, it became suffocating. She realized she wasn't even making her own choices anymore. Everything, from what they ate to how she spent her weekends, was being decided for her. She started feeling trapped, like her opinions didn't matter. And the worst part, she began doubting herself, questioning whether she was even capable of making good decisions on her own. One day, Emma decided enough was enough. She had a long, honest conversation with her partner. She explained how his behavior was affecting her, how it was making her feel small and unheard. At first, he was defensive. Controlling personalities often don't realize the impact of their actions. But Emma stood her ground, setting clear boundaries. She started asserting herself more, saying things like, "This is important to me," or "I'd like to make this decision." It wasn't easy, and it took time, but eventually the dynamic shifted. Emma regained her voice, and with it, her confidence and sense of independence. Here's the insight. Controlling personalities thrive in relationships where they can dominate, but they can only do so if you allow it. The moment you start asserting your preferences and setting boundaries, you take back your power. It's not about starting conflicts or cutting people off. It's about standing firm in who you are and what you want. If you're dealing with someone like this, start small. Speak up about little decisions like where to go or what you'd prefer. When they try to override you, calmly but firmly say, "I'd like to do it this way," or "This matters to me." It might feel uncomfortable at first, but every time you assert yourself, you're reclaiming your autonomy. And if they truly care about you, they'll respect that. Life is too short to live under someone else's control. You deserve relationships where your voice is heard, your boundaries are respected, and your choices matter. So, if someone is dominating your decisions and ignoring your preferences, remember this. You have the right to your own life. Set your boundaries, speak your truth, and never let anyone take away your autonomy. Because your peace, your freedom, and your happiness are worth protecting. Number 4, the unappreciative. Let's talk about a type of person who can slowly chip away at your energy and self-worth. The unappreciative. These are the ones who take your efforts, kindness, and sacrifices for granted. No matter how much you do for them, it never seems to be enough. They rarely acknowledge your contributions, and when they do, it feels like an afterthought. At first, you might tell yourself, maybe they just don't realize how much I do, or they're probably just busy. But over time, their lack of gratitude begins to weigh on you. It leaves you feeling undervalued, unrecognized, and even disrespected. Here's the truth. Appreciation is not just about saying thank you. It's about recognizing someone's efforts and showing respect for the energy they've invested. When someone consistently fails to do that, it's not just frustrating, it's disheartening. The unappreciative create an unbalanced dynamic where you're always giving and they're always taking. And the more it continues, the more it starts to affect your peace, making you question whether your efforts even matter. Let me share a story about a friend of mine. Let's call her Nadia. Nadia was the kind of person who would go out of her way for others. She'd stay late to help her colleagues, plan thoughtful surprises for her friends, and even rearrange her schedule to accommodate family needs. But the people in her life rarely showed gratitude. Her colleagues took credit for her work without acknowledging her. Her friends forgot to thank her for the time and effort she put into making them feel special. And her family, they acted as if her sacrifices were expected, not something to be appreciated. Over time, Nadia started feeling invisible, like nothing she did mattered. One day, after yet another thankless effort, Nadia had a realization. It wasn't her responsibility to keep giving to people who didn't value her. She decided to make a change. Nadia began setting boundaries, saying no to requests that didn't align with her priorities, and redirecting her energy toward people who genuinely appreciated her. At first, it was uncomfortable. The unappreciative people in her life didn't take kindly to the change. But Nadia stood firm, and over time, she noticed a difference. She felt lighter, happier, and more at peace. And the best part, the people who truly valued her started stepping up, showing gratitude for her efforts in ways she'd never experienced before. Here's the Stoic insight. Gratitude is the foundation of harmony. Absence of it breeds discord. When someone fails to show gratitude, they disrupt the balance in a relationship, leaving one person carrying the load while the other takes it for granted. But here's the good news. You don't have to accept that imbalance. By recognizing your own worth and setting boundaries, you can protect your peace and ensure that your efforts are truly valued. If you're dealing with someone unappreciative, here's what you can do. First, stop overextending yourself for people who don't acknowledge your contributions. It's not selfish to prioritize your energy. It's essential. Second, express your feelings calmly and clearly. Let them know how their lack of gratitude affects you. And finally, surround yourself with people who value and respect you. Life is too short to spend it feeling unappreciated. Your time, energy, and kindness are gifts, and they should be treated as such. If someone can't see the value in what you bring to the table, that's a reflection of them, not you. So choose to invest your energy wisely with people who uplift and appreciate you. Because at the end of the day, gratitude isn't just about saying thank you, it's about creating relationships built on mutual respect, harmony, and care. And those are the relationships worth holding on to. If you've watched the video this far, make sure to comment "Thank God" to let us know you're with us. Number 5, the resentful and bitter. Let's talk about a type of person who can silently poison the atmosphere around you. The resentful and bitter. These are the people who carry old grudges, cling to past disappointments, and project their negativity onto everyone they interact with. At first, you might feel sorry for them. You think they've been through a lot, or maybe they just need time to heal. But over time, their bitterness starts to affect you. It's like a dark cloud that follows them everywhere, and if you're not careful, it can drag you into their negativity too. Here's the truth. Resentful and bitter people don't just hold on to their own pain, they spread it. Their conversations are filled with complaints about how life has been unfair to them, how people have wronged them, or how nothing ever goes their way. Instead of seeking solutions or trying to move forward, they dwell on the past, turning every interaction into a reminder of what went wrong. And while they might not intend to harm you, their constant negativity creates a toxic environment that's hard to escape. Let me share a story about a friend of mine. Let's call him Sam. Sam worked with someone who was incredibly bitter about being passed over for a promotion years ago. Every day, this co-worker would bring it up, finding new ways to criticize the company, their boss, and even their colleagues. At first, Sam tried to empathize, listening patiently and offering words of encouragement, but the bitterness never eased. Instead, the co-worker's resentment began to creep into Sam's own mindset. Sam started noticing himself complaining more, feeling unmotivated, and even questioning his own goals. It wasn't until he took a step back that he realized how much this negativity was affecting him. That's when Sam decided to make a change. He stopped engaging in conversations about old grievances and started redirecting the focus to more positive or productive topics. When his co-worker tried to draw him into another bitter rant, Sam would politely excuse himself or simply change the subject. It wasn't easy at first. Resentful people often resist positivity because it threatens the narrative they've built around their pain. But over time, Sam noticed a huge difference. He felt lighter, more motivated, and far less weighed down by someone else's negativity. Here's the insight. Bitterness is like a toxin, and the longer you're exposed to it, the more it affects your own peace of mind. Resentful people often don't realize the impact they have on those around them, but that doesn't mean you have to absorb their negativity. You can't change their mindset, but you can protect your own. So, how do you deal with the resentful and bitter? Start by recognizing that their negativity isn't yours to carry. You don't have to fix their pain or take on their grudges. Limit your exposure if possible, and when you do interact, set clear emotional boundaries. Don't engage in conversations that revolve around past hurts or endless complaints. Instead, focus on staying grounded in your own positivity and peace. Life is challenging enough without carrying someone else's bitterness on top of your own challenges. You deserve an environment that uplifts you, not one that drags you down. So if you find yourself surrounded by resentment and negativity, remember this: their bitterness is not your burden. Choose to protect your peace. Surround yourself with people who inspire and encourage you, and let go of anyone who tries to pull you into their toxic mindset. Because your mental clarity and happiness are too valuable to sacrifice for someone else's unresolved pain. Keep moving forward and don't let bitterness steal your light. Number 6, the negative influences. Let's talk about a group of people who can quietly sabotage your progress without you even realizing it. The negative influences. These are the ones who always have something discouraging to say about your goals, your dreams, and your ambitions. Maybe it's subtle, a sarcastic comment here, a doubtful look there, or maybe it's more direct. Do you really think you can pull that off? Or why bother? It's not like it'll work out. At first, you might shrug it off, thinking that's just their opinion. But over time, their negativity starts to seep in, making you question yourself and your ability to achieve the things that matter to you. Here's the truth. Negative influences aren't always trying to hurt you. Sometimes their discouragement comes from their own fears and insecurities. They see you striving for something bigger, something better, and it reminds them of the risks they never took. Instead of cheering you on, they project their doubts onto you, and the more you listen, the more their voice starts to drown out your own. Suddenly, you're second-guessing your ambitions, wondering if maybe they're right, if maybe you're aiming too high. And just like that, their negativity has robbed you of the confidence to move forward. Let me share a story about a friend of mine. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel had always dreamed of starting his own business. He spent months researching, planning, and saving up to make it happen. but whenever he shared his ideas with his co-workers, they'd shoot him down. They'd say the market's too competitive, they'd say. Most startups fail, you know. At first, Daniel tried to brush it off, but the constant negativity started to weigh on him. He found himself procrastinating, doubting his plans, and wondering if he was setting himself up for failure. One day, Daniel decided to stop seeking their approval. Instead of sharing his dreams with people who didn't believe in him, he started surrounding himself with those who did. He joined a community of entrepreneurs, people who understood the challenges but also believed in the possibilities. Their encouragement reignited his confidence, and with their support, Daniel finally took the leap. His business wasn't an overnight success. It took hard work and resilience, but today he's thriving. And looking back, he realizes that the only thing standing in his way was letting negative voices dictate his decisions. Here's the insight. The people you surround yourself with have a direct impact on your growth. Negative influences might not mean to hold you back, but their constant discouragement can become a weight that's hard to carry. If you let their doubts and fears dictate your actions, you'll never reach your full potential. But when you choose to listen to voices that uplift and inspire you, you open the door to possibilities you never thought possible. So, what can you do? Start by being mindful of whose opinions you let into your life. Not everyone deserves a front-row seat to your journey. Seek out people who believe in you, who encourage your growth, and who challenge you to be your best self. And when negative influences try to bring you down, remember, their doubts are a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. Life is too short to let someone else's negativity dictate your path. Your ambitions, your dreams, and your growth are worth fighting for. So surround yourself with people who lift you up, and don't let anyone talk you out of the life you're meant to create. Because at the end of the day, the only opinion that truly matters is your own. Keep moving forward. No matter what they say, you've got this. If this video resonated with you, make sure to like it, subscribe for more Stoic-inspired guidance, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'll personally reply to your comments. Tell me which of these signs you've noticed in your life.